AI help you code faster? Does it replace your traditional tools? What do we mean when we talk about AI coding assistants, agentic AI, or AI IDEs? It seems there's a new AI tool or new AI approach to help us write code faster every day, and it's impossible to keep up with all of this. In this video, I'm going to give you an overview of some of the types of AI coding assistants that are available. I'm going to look at how you use them inside your IDE and how to integrate them into your everyday workflow. Hello and welcome to the Modern Software Engineering channel. I'm Trisha Gee. I'll be your host today. On this channel, we like to talk about trends, technologies, and tools that are relevant to developers. Subscribe if you want to see more, and hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Before I can show you any coding assistants, we need to take a look at the different types of AI assistants that are available to us as developers. The first is machine learning in your IDE. IDEs have actually been using machine learning to improve the standard IDE features for some time. For example, to give a more helpful order of code completion suggestions. So you may have been using AI coding assistants for years and not even realized. The next advance in AI coding is full-line code completion. IDEs and plugins for IDEs like Copilot can offer a more advanced full-line code completion. It suggests more than just the next method name or the next variable. It makes a guess about what you want to do on the whole line. The logical next step is multi-line code suggestions. Really, this is just an extension of the line-level code completion. Tools can now offer much more extensive suggestions. It's also where we find there are many more ways to work with AI tooling, like using a chat in a browser, or as a plugin to your IDE, or inline code commands or prompts in the editor, or context-sensitive options inside your IDE. At this point, we can be talking anything from a couple of lines of code to whole applications. Finally, there's agentic assistants or AI IDEs. This is where things get really interesting. We're not talking about just generating huge amounts of code. We're also talking about using the context of your existing code to create new code or make changes, planning the next steps needed to take the next steps in your application development, including running tests, committing code, and so on, and letting the agent get on with it with minimal interaction from a developer. This space is really quite new and evolving very rapidly, so pretty much anything I say on this topic will be out of date as soon as this video is published. But I will be able to give you a flavor of what this is about and why it might be helpful to developers. So if agentic AI is so advanced and can do so much, do we even need all of the other tools? Well, yes. Why? Because there are always trade-offs whenever we're using a tool or technology. I want to show you what some of those trade-offs are, what sort of tasks certain tools are good at, and which ones they might be less suitable for. First, a word from our sponsors, Equal Experts, Transfic, Tuple, and CodeScene. Equal Experts is a consultancy that's built on applying the ideas that we talk about here to build great software. Transfic is a financial technology company that applies advanced CI techniques to deliver low-latency routing technology. Tuple builds software that helps people pair program remotely. CodeScene provides advanced code analysis that helps you improve the code's quality and the team's productivity. These products and services are well aligned with what we care about on this channel. Take a look at the links in the description below. So I'm going to show you some samples of all of these types of tools. I can't show you all of the tools in this space because there are so many, and they're evolving very quickly. What I'm going to do is mention a few tools by name, and if you want to get an idea of alternative or competing tools for each category, you can ask ChatGPT like I did. It actually gave a pretty decent overview of the whole landscape. The first thing I mentioned was machine learning in the IDE. I'm actually not going to cover this. Some IDEs have had this for years, for example, to provide a more useful order for your code completion dropdown, and you probably didn't even notice. So the first thing I am going to show is full-line code completion. There's a blur between full-line code completion and multi-line code completion, but I've separated the two because they can work in different ways. Single-line code completion is built into your JetBrains IDE if you're using one of the professional versions, one of the paid ones. It's not a separate AI plugin. Other tools and plugins may offer something similar. What's interesting about the JetBrains one is that it is entirely local and doesn't have to dial outside of your machine or send your code anywhere. However, on the other hand, it does just suggest one single line. Let's take a look. To show this, I have disabled AI Assistant. I need to make sure I've enabled local full line completion, which I'll enable for Java. The AI one, the cloud completion suggestions, are disabled, and I don't have any other plugins like Copilot enabled. As I type, it's going to give me a single line that might complete my statement. The nice thing about this is it does limit the amount of typing I have to do. The annoying thing about it is if the whole line isn't correct, I have to go back and correct it. Now, multi-line code completion is very similar, except for over a larger scope. The difference is it does require usually reaching out to an LLM model somewhere to give you those code suggestions. This time, I have JetBrains AI Assistant turned on. I'm going to enable the cloud completion suggestions and see what it gives me. This time, as you see, it suggests the whole method to be completed for me. If you want to use an AI coding assistant like this, there's more than one available. Let me show you Copilot. This time, I have the AI assistant turned off, and I have Copilot turned on. And you can see it looks fairly similar. It gives similar sort of suggestions. What's interesting is if you play with different ones of these tools, you'll see that it offers different types of suggestions. So if I did this with AI Assistant, it would probably give me some different suggestions. Now, code completion isn't the only thing these tools offer. For example, they often have a chat window, so I can talk to it to ask it stuff or get it to generate code for me. Sometimes the results are not entirely accurate, but sometimes it's quite helpful. In here, you can ask it to generate code, and I can copy this code into my IDE. Something else you might see in the chat window are some of the other options for the plugin. For example, here, I can change the model it's using. The model is the thing that's ultimately going to offer the suggestions, and you might pick one over another because it's better for your use cases. For this example, I've switched back to using AI Assistant and turned off Copilot, just to show similar features are available in different tools. And again, we have a chat window. We have the ability to choose whichever model we want to use and ask it questions. Something else we can do, which is really helpful, is you can ask them to explain code. So I can ask the AI assistant to explain this code, and it should do a reasonable job of explaining the code. So it's not just about generating code, it's also about using it to get a better understanding of the code that you're working with. We've seen the AI tools generate small pieces of code, snippets of code, but where it can be really powerful is generating big pieces of code. So for example, this is an empty project. There's nothing in here just yet. We can get the AI to create a much bigger piece of code for, in this example, almost a whole application. For straightforward requests like these, particularly if there are good examples on the internet already, it actually does a pretty decent job of doing the very basics. One of the things it does not know is the context of your application. So I've said this is a Gradle project, but it generated me a Maven POM file. There is a downside to this. I do have to copy the code from the chat window and put it into my project. IntelliJ has a fairly neat trick for this. If you have code on the clipboard and you paste it into the project window, it will create a file with that code in. I can even move it into the right package. However, it would be easier if it could just create it inside my project for me. We'll come to that in a minute. So far, the code generation examples I've shown you are inside the IDE. That's because, as I mentioned, I do have a bias towards the IDE. However, you can go directly to your AI tool, particularly if that's the best way to interact with them, and ask them for code. For example, using Claude, you can ask it to create code directly in the browser. By default, it creates it as an individual file. You can iterate over it, get it to separate it into different files, and of course, communicate with Claude to get it to make the code look the way you want it to. You could do the same thing for ChatGPT, or any number of other code generation tools. When you're working with a tool like this, you have to decide whether you're going to continue iterating over it in the browser or in the tool that the AI provides you before putting it into your IDE, or whether you're going to stick it into your IDE and edit it there, if you tend to use an IDE. Before I move on to the next set of tools, I want to show you one more thing around AI plugins for your IDEs. One of the things they're getting much better at is reading the context of where you are right now. For example, I have a comment which says what I want to do next, and Copilot does a really good guess of figuring out what that should look like. Switching back to using AI Assistant, not Copilot, just to add confusion, some tools like this allow you to do free text inside the editor, and it will take that text and alter the code for you. Well, sometimes with varied success. In this next section, I'm going to show tools which are more integrated with your existing project. Some of these are called agentic, and I will also show an AI IDE. The advantage of some of these tools is that they have better integration than the AI assistants I've shown you so far. For example, we're going to use JetBrains Genie instead of using AI Assistant. I can prompt it with the same kind of prompt I was using with the other tools. The difference is it's actually going to come up with a plan of how to do this. It's also going to look at my existing project structure and integrate it into my existing project. So for example, it's detected that I'm using Gradle, and it's going to edit the existing Gradle file. The previous AI assistants used Maven by default, so it's actually using the context of my project. It also adds new files directly into my project, no more copying and pasting. It will ask me for approval if it's making something that looks like a risky change. It may check for the correctness of the files that it's generated. And at the end, it will give you a summary of what it did. Some of these agentic AI tools have much better integration with your IDE. Here's where we find it didn't actually generate any tests for the project. But, now you could tell it to generate some tests. You can, of course, get the AI to write tests. That is the topic of another different rant. But anyway, what you won't be able to see from this video, because by the time it gets to you, I will have edited it heavily, is just how slow some of these tools are, particularly if there are multiple network requests asking LLMs for advice on what to do. Another approach to using AI when we write code is to use an AI IDE. I'm using Cursor here, which is a fork of VS Code. By now, you're getting to see some of the similarities between these tools. Here, for example, we have a chat. I can ask it to. It's generating the code inside the chat, but it's also putting it into my project itself. So I don't have to copy and paste it, it's there already. With an AI IDE like this, the intention is you're going to interact with your code directly with the AI. It's also more integrated into the IDE. I can make changes to my project here. One of the things I found useful about Genie and about this integration with the IDE is that I can ask it to do bigger refactorings. I can ask it to remove entire layers of my architecture. I can ask it to move stuff around. In this video, I've given you a very high-level overview of the types of AI coding assistants that might be available to you. As you can see, the different tools enable different ways of working, allow access to different models, and have trade-offs in the way they work. Some of the things you might want to consider when deciding which tool to use are speed. How fast does it give you what you need, and does that fit in with your workflow? Accuracy. How correct is it? Size of changes. What size changes do you want to make? Is it a single line, or are you creating a whole application? How do you want to make the changes? In an IDE, in a separate tool, within the context of your own code base, or with some other given set of conditions? Do you want the tool to work offline? And how comfortable are you with the model having access to your code? In summary, there are lots of different tools and models available to you to help you work with code. You should get an understanding of the tools available and figure out how they score on these different considerations. Thanks for watching. Thanks also to our patrons who support this channel and get loads of goodies like early access to videos from being part of our Patreon community. If you're interested in being part of the community, check out the links in the description below.